Hi, Austin.
Hey Ted, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
So
Hanging in
you got
there.
a story to tell me. We may end up having you turn off your camera if your audio goes pixelated. But
Okay.
you had a really good free quote experience yesterday.
Yep. Yesterday afternoon.
Okay. So you want to tell me a little bit about the free quote experience?
Yeah. It was the kind of scope of work of the call. It was a no heat, um, cracked heat exchanger, and then we locked it out to heat pump only. Heat pumps having a little bit of issues and some ducting issues as well. So initially, it was set up as actually a comfort consult.
Okay.
So client didn't have heat, and it was
No
really
heat
really
puts
cold. Like
pressure. No heat puts pressure. You can't take a week
yeah,
to get
yep.
them answered.
So I give them the decision on what to do, rather path A or path B. So I spent a little bit, sent the email. So both clients were there, husband and wife were both there. So they read everything. And then I started out with just an initial conversation of the difference between the paths. And they elected to go down path A, which is the likely load free quote. So we kind of started off there, went through all the questions with them. They ate that up, all of the questions. They really enjoyed that. Um, and multiple times throughout the visit, they were they had some choice words to say about their previous company that they used for their heating and cooling.
Had they
Um,
recently gotten sales quotes or were they just upset with the service? All of it had been bad experience.
yeah, they got the initial system put in by the same company and had issues from the start with it. And then it sounded like the company just kind of was chasing their tail, like you need to do duct work, and which I would, to some capacity might not have been a bad idea, but then we're just kind of pushing things down them like, well, if this doesn't work, then do this. If this doesn't work, then do this.
Right.
So,
And they had
um,
followed that advice with on they hadn't been
not very
given
good
another
results.
alternative to get a better understanding of the house. So it wasn't their fault that they had been
Right.
taking chances because they hadn't been given another opportunity.
The wife, the wife said almost verbatim, we don't, it's not that we care about things needing to be done to the house. We're just tired of being told that one thing will absolutely fix an issue, and then
And
it's
then
we're
it
chasing our
doesn't.
tails continuously. Yes.
Okay. Hey, this is what you need to do instead of, well, maybe you can try this.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So I go through all the questions, got a lot of good information from them. Like they had mold remediation done in the past in the crawl.
Okay.
Um, Dust issues were a problem, and comfort issues throughout, not only levels throughout the house, but from room to room. There were some comfort concerns. So I dived into the likely load, uh, both heating and cooling. They were, after going through that, they made the decision pretty quickly to go down in sizing. It was just the equipment that they had, choosing the decisions on what equipment they want, and then building their install from there.
Okay.
So,
And you and I talked about this a little bit. We're going to be shifting the installation above the equipment decision so that people don't attach themselves to an equipment decision and realize that the installation choices blow their budget and then they have to go and undecide about the equipment. Um,
yeah,
because if they decide on a 5 stage and they end up having to settle on a crossover, that's a lot of wasted time. And it
yep,
also puts them in a place where they could be disappointed for no purpose.
right, right.
So tell me a little bit about how big's the house?
I believe it was 2,300 square foot above grade.
Okay.
And then partial basement, partial crawl, ventilated crawl space.
Oh,
Um,
oh, okay. So,
so
and
on
the
a vented
ventilated
crawl.
crawl space is where the mold problems were occurring? Okay.
Yep, yep. Which we did kind of talk a little bit about that, because they had asked downsizing of the equipment. So we got in a little bit to that, where we talked about downsizing of the equipment. It's going to give you longer run times, and then if you're uncomfortable, then we can come back to the comfort console versus doing it right now and it's -4 degrees outside and you have no heat. If you guys decide to put in some good equipment, then we could do a comfort console to figure out maybe one room is problematically attached to the outside and
Okay.
shell work needs to be done on the
Likely due
house.
to this open crawl space.
And I use the crawl space as an example of, hey, it's ventilated, outside
Yeah.
air is coming in here and it's also getting into your basement. I went over all that with them. But again, the wife said, we understand that. We know that we know we may need to do that in the future. We're glad that it's being brought up now versus down the road. So
Yeah,
now they at
so
least know
you're coming to
that's in her head.
you're coming to the same kind of conclusion that Comfort Consult might well be best serving the client if it's shifted past free quote, so long as free quote can help them make really good decisions.
Right. And that's exactly what this one did. So
So
I did the path.
2,400 square feet,
Yep.
what was it? What was their current equipment?
100K 3-ton.
How many stages?
The furnace was 2-stage, and I believe the heat pump, was 1. It may have been 2.
Okay.
Um,
So it wasn't the worst equipment they could have bought, but it was
no,
pretty close.
no. Yep, yep,
So 2,400 square feet, 100K. And
yep.
then on top of that, 3-ton AC.
3-ton. It was a downflow, so it drops down into the crawl, and then you got a piece of round pipe that comes up and goes up to service the upstairs of the house.
Okay, so on top of that, it never experiences the heat of an attic.
Yeah.
So okay, I understand where we are. That HVAC is quite a bit oversized. What did your likely load range offer?
I was playing around with the CFM50 on it, and I was getting anywhere from getting aggressive, high 40,000 BTUs, mid 50,000. And
Okay,
then again, on the cooling side, just shy of like 2.5 to, if it was really leaky, about 3.5.
okay. And do
Um,
they have 4-ton of ductwork?
no, no,
Okay.
not even close. Not even close.
So
At
without a
about,
comfort consult, you really got to sort of lean to a hybrid.
yeah, yep.
Right.
And
They would need to dial in tighter or be
yeah,
exposed. With 3-ton, they would be exposed to a fair amount of resistance, which I guess they could say yes to.
yep. And I did offer that. I did offer the electrification as well.
Okay.
So it got really good. And this is where yesterday I got pretty excited after, because I was like, oh geez, like
The
it
enthusiasm is
just
so encouraging because we're in such
yeah.
a difficult time right now getting people to use the free quote.
And so when I started showing them pick your equipment, pick your install, yeah, I messed around a little bit with the templates, and those smiley faces are associated so well in reference to the 6 functions
Yes.
HVAC. So once they watch that video, like we started talking about fresh air and all of that stuff, and it tied in really well with each other. So
Jason is
they picked,
finding that with free quote, almost every visit, the people are seriously interested in the fresh air conversation.
yep, yep. So they ended up picking their equipment. It was a dual fuel system. That's what they decided to go with. So they ended up picking, I don't know what you call it. So they picked their equipment, going back with the 60K variable furnace
Okay.
with the greenspeed 3-ton heat pump is what we're going back with.
Full green speed.
So they picked their equipment, decided to go with dual fuel. I offered the electrification, but they didn't want to do that, so that's fine. They did have a couple other gas appliances, like they had a tankless water heater, and then their oven range was gas as well, so that may have had some play in it. But they picked the highest system that we offer, which is a MN7 gas furnace 60K with a greenspeed 3-ton heat pump is what
Oh my
they
gosh.
chose.
Okay.
So what I really liked about it the most was, and it's kind of a pull from the comfort console from my experience, because I don't have a whole lot of field experience with the free quote, but it was the offer declined. So they picked their equipment, and then they got to pick their install, where I offered, based off of the information I got during my interview of the mold remediation they had done, talked to them about crawl space encapsulation plus dehumidification and fresh air. So the job ended up being about $26,000 job on a free quote.
Wow.
Um, with they went ahead and declined the ventilating dehumidifier at this time, but
Okay.
we are going to revisit it in June,
Okay.
when the humidity is going to be back.
Right.
So they were going back and forth on doing it or not doing it. And then it was almost like they were either going to do the 5-stage with the ventilating dehumidifier or the greenspeed and revisit the ventilating dehu.
Oh, that's
I
it.
get I left that decision up to them. They made that decision. So
You
that's what
know,
we're going to do now.
just to go to an aside, if it were you or me, well, if it were me, I'd be looking at that green speed and going straight electrification with reheat strips. And
Yeah,
then I'm like, okay, well, if I got a load issue, I'll tighten the house up to move away from, if I start staging the backup in cold temperatures, then I might tighten the house up so as to reduce that electric load or not.
yeah,
But then I would have the reheat for most of the shoulder seasons.
dehumidification. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
if I didn't go with that, I probably would have just gone with a 5-stage, because you don't really need all that efficiency. Is there something I'm missing? Because is there something the greenspeed does that the 5-stage doesn't do?
It's the big thing for that, they were a little bit educated on like rebates, so I'm sure that had a little bit of play in it as well,
Okay,
I would
so as
imagine.
rebates, it goes below 2 degrees. So you can, if
And the warranty. So we offer 15 years.
okay,
So it's an additional 5 years. And it
gotcha.
sounds like they're going to be there for a long period of time. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure.
nicely, this previous company pushed their pain buttons really hard with their incompetence.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're like,
Um,
okay, we're going to make sure that we have the best, so that there's no shortfalls on our side of this equation, and we can hold Williams to account.
right. Yep. So I went through all of that. Like I said, they picked their install. They picked their equipment. They made the decisions on everything, and they both shook my hand, told me I could come by, hang out whenever I want. I mean, the interaction with the client was awesome.
People don't
Um,
understand that a big part of the design behind this is the creation of these nice little relationships with customers.
yeah,
If you sort
yeah,
of like, how can I design this sales interaction so everybody has a nice experience?
right. And the other thing is, I was a little nervous for a while. We have to do a pre-inspection on the job. This one's a little bit more difficult, to where when we have jobs that are a little bit more difficult, we like to do a pre-inspection where we can
Yeah.
really design it to make sure the install goes off without a hitch.
Are
If
you
it's
doing that
something
with the,
simple,
are you doing that with the lead installer too, or how does that?
yeah, we have a guy that oversees kind of it. So he comes out with me. He's got a background in residential new construction, did that for a long time. He's been in the
Okay.
industry for a really long
So he's
time.
got chops.
Um, yeah. So when, especially my jobs like I do on Comfort Console, those ones are a little bit more difficult. So we have a really good relationship where he comes out with me. I kind of let him know what I see in my head, and then we design and get material list and all that together.
Okay.
Get a good game plan together and let the homeowner know. So
I bet he
on this
likes your
one,
jobs.
yeah. I mean, I've spent a lot of time with
That is
them.
fun.
So we get along pretty well together. It's
Yeah.
pretty nice. Um, and so this job, they, like I said, they had heat, but not really. And we've been in the single digit temperatures and the negatives, especially overnight. And these guys needed a pre-inspection. I told them that, hey guys, we can probably toss this thing in here, but if we really want to make sure that everything is copacetic and set up for success, then I would consider a pre-inspection, but you're going to have to wait a day to get the pre done. And they were okay with that. They're like, we've been without it for 2 days. We'll wait another day. We want this to be done right. And we're going back tomorrow morning to do the pre on it. And then we'll get it in Friday or Saturday. Probably be a 2-day job, maybe.
Okay.
So overall, I mean, it was great.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it might end up being another $8,000 sale for a ventilating dehumidifier.
Next spring, right?
Yeah. So it set up everything to where they could see it all, see the numbers. After being educated, they can then make a decision on.
An informed
I've already,
decision.
yeah, I've already asked them, you know, budget questions. How long you plan on staying here? I've asked them comfort questions, which the tech before me kind of really set it up. That the alley oop there, he took really good call notes, and actually
So
called me
good
when he was
call
on the
notes
job,
and did the four
setting it
questions
up.
quiz.
Yep, and
Okay.
that and
So
that's
that's
yeah.
important.
Their numbers, their score on the home comfort questionnaire was only a 10. Like it wasn't massive.
Was it,
So
did it stay at 10 when you talked to them?
like there were the dust one that increased a little bit, the
Okay. So their
allergies,
numbers
and
went up
then
a little bit.
yeah, that one, and then the moisture issues. I dug a little bit deeper on that than the
Okay.
tech did, which is
No,
okay,
no, no,
but
no. It's not his job to
yeah,
reverse 3 times on every question.
I called
His
him
job
after and
is to
told him
get
if
them used to the questions so that when you
yeah,
go back, the ground is tilled.
yep, exactly. I called him after and I was like, if you set everyone up like that,
Right.
that would be perfect.
Well, and he's thrilled because he's getting what, 3% for the turnover?
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
So some of these
Yeah.
techs recognize that if they do this well, they're going to get a really nice turnover.
Yeah. Your normal turnover is ballpark, anywhere from, we'll say, $10,000 to $15,000. And I literally, that's why I was so giddy yesterday and I called you. Is like, I literally sold these same exact jobs I sell on Comfort Consults, but I sold it on a free quote.
And it felt the
Um,
same where you had the relationship
yeah,
and the people were on board and enthusiastic.
exactly.
And that is
Exactly.
so awesome to hear. Now, let me ask you, I know that you're
So,
limited on time.
yeah.
Uh, do you have an example where things don't go well because the tech didn't do their job well for you?
Yeah, that one that we're talking about today. So, big thing is the comfort questionnaire.
So they didn't ask the 4
Ask them
questions.
questions.
Okay. Didn't have the homeowner set up
Static pressure is huge.
static. Didn't have them set up for that.
Yeah. And
Uh,
then
and then didn't
I'm a
have them
big fan of,
paired with the opportunity to look at the 2 videos.
yeah. And that was the other thing I was going to add on to it. I'm a big fan, and if you set it up, let the homeowner know, hey, you're going to get some information in an email. We'd highly recommend that you read that in its entirety, which is something that called the good experience that we're talking about. That tech did that.
Okay. So
So
the other thing that a good tech will do that or a good tech will not do that a bad tech, not bad tech, but bad setup can have a tendency to do is be the hero and jump to conclusions about solutions, right? So what ended up
yes,
happening on this bad tech setup as far as when you got, not only did they not have the 4 questions, not only
yeah,
were the homeowners not prepared to read the email or look at the 2 short videos, but they were already
they were,
preconditioned what their solution was, right?
yeah. So that one was again, like the likely load of the house. And that was a like 2,700 square foot home downtown Indianapolis. Has been an investor from California flipped the house, sold it. And what I've discovered is a lot of times they just kind of polish them, drywall, new floors, new light fixtures, and that's it.
Right.
And this house had a 100,000 BTU gas furnace and a 4-ton air conditioner, single stage.
Okay.
Well, it was trip and limit and was hitting lockouts.
So
So
100,000 not too oversized for a 2,700 square foot old house. Like might be 20,000 for 20 to 40,000 oversized, but
mhm,
why was it hitting lockouts? Is it because it also had ductwork too small?
yeah, just terrible, like bad duct work
So
on the
the
returns.
tech should have known that by the static pressure.
Right, and then the they were misinformed that hey, you add some returns, Bob's your uncle, you're good to go.
And that's only going
Which
to be
on
$1,000, and you pay this $500 for a comfort consult, and we'll credit it back to your $1,000 job.
yeah, and then also on PSC systems, when you lower return static, that will increase supply static pressure, and there's no access to any other supply ductwork because it's all in sheetrock. So I
Oh,
just kept going back to,
they gotta
if we,
downsize their equipment unless they want to do some
yeah,
really big. Okay,
yeah, remodel the house again, essentially.
right.
And I went back to, they had like you said, they have preconceived things that now are kind of glued into their head, and that's what they're stuck on. So I just went
So
back
that tech
to,
missed out on probably a $15,000 turnover
yeah, yeah,
because he opened his mouth when he shouldn't have, and he didn't open his mouth where he should have.
yeah. Sometimes, the answer, I don't know. I'll get a guy out here that does. That answer will suffice.
Right.
Versus giving bad information or not good information. Because when a homeowner hears something from a technical aspect, they tend to gravitate towards that versus myself in a sales role, me going out there. You see what I'm saying? Back and forth
Yeah.
on that.
And that could have
So,
been a great free quote too.
yeah,
It didn't need to be a comfort consult anyway.
yeah.
That could have been a great free quote. You didn't need it to be a comfort consult.
No, I don't believe so. I mean, it's pretty, that likely load range is very good. And not only because you're giving them the low end and the high end, but you're educating them, and it's their decision, right?
Right. And in this case,
Um,
you would have told them, look, you can't get at your ductwork. So,
yeah,
so unless you think that you're like, do not lean towards oversizing because we got
yes,
to get this as small as possible and then maybe you improve the house versus having to go backwards, tear out all this drywall that this flipper did.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Awesome.
guess bringing it all home, the difference of the two is when they're set up well, it is very seamless and does not take uh, really much effort at all. You know, uh, the
That's
the
awesome.
the videos kind of do most of the heavy lifting for you. You
Okay.
know,
So,
so
long story short, you love free quote.
yeah, yeah, and
You're excited to see.
especially right now when it's so cold and phone's been ringing nonstop since Saturday a lot about overheating systems because it's so cold. The furnaces are running constantly.
Oh, and they're
So
hitting high
especially
limit.
right
You
now
want
where,
them.
yeah, especially right now when it's 4 degrees in your, or it's -4 outside, you don't have heat. Do you want me to pull a whole bunch of outside air in your house and wait, a day or so to figure out this comfort consult? The option's yours, or we can do this likely load range and provide you with some education, and
Right.
you can make a more rounded, educated decision. Because this is likely to, you're likely to have this equipment unless you move for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, if you do it well, you're not going to be overheating that heat exchanger,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
on high limit and increasing the likelihood of cracking it.
yep, yeah.
So, would you say that the free quote process is a process that if the whole sales department used it, then everybody would know what happened when the salesperson was out at a house?
Yes, as long as all of it, as long as they're following the process and
And
documenting everything.
documenting it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So would
That's the
that
big
make
part
for a
there
much
because
stronger sales department?
I believe so. The big thing is there would be no more of, well, you guys are the ones that did this. You guys are the ones that told me to do this. No, we didn't tell you to do that. We told you this is likely the likelihood of what's going on in your house. You know this house better than I do. I don't live here. I'm only going to spend about the next hour to an hour and a half with you. So let's get some information, let's document it, and then we'll go over the risk assessment. What would happen if you are uncomfortable, then shell work. You talk to them about all that stuff.
Right.
So I think that would be the biggest thing, is it would take away that, well, you guys did this, right? Because again, like I said, on the good experience, the job I had yesterday, I did not make that decision. I did not
So,
tell them to put in a 60K 3-ton in that house.
so
I gave them the
basically,
likely
the
load.
process would inject responsibly avoiding responsibility into the sales force.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem, Ted. I appreciate it.
I'm going to post this video today.
All right, buddy.
Thanks,
Sounds
man.
like a plan.
See ya.
Thanks, Ted. Bye.